Johnson heads to the bucket. Layup. Johnson, good.
All right, welcome everybody. It's another episode of Talkin Sports with me, Chris Powers, right here on Pelican Sports TV, seen in over 2 million households, reaches 2 million households in South Louisiana, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Lafayette, Morgan City, and also parts of Livingston Parish, seen 5 times a week, Tuesdays at 11 a.m., Thursdays at 11 a.m. and 7 p.m., Fridays at 9 p.m., and again, Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. as well. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things today. We'll talk about LSU basketball. We'll talk about LSU baseball. We'll talk about the Saints have their new man and what have you. But we begin tonight with Southern University basketball. Both men and women first place in the SWAC right now, looking very good. They got for the men and women, they have 3. They're up by 3 games with 5 games left to play. The men are. That's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. There's no selfish players on this team. The defense is good, but the bench play is unbelievable. They are number 1 in the nation in bench scoring. Number 1. I mean, I've never seen a team, I've seen it for women, but I've never seen a team where 5 players come on, 5 players come off. It's just like that. It doesn't matter. That's the way Coach KJ is, and it seems to be working. They're the number 1 bench team in Division I basketball. Pretty impressive. It's a huge factor for the Jaguars. They beat Texas Southern last night in Johnny Jones. All the stars were there. The LSU and Southern president was there. John Brady was there last night, former LSU coach, current the color analyst for LSU Sports Network. Collis Temple was there last night. Attorney Tony Clayton, who's a proud sponsor of this show, West Baton Rouge District Attorney and Chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Attorney Tony Des Moines Rutledge was there. Also, Senator Cleo Fields was there, and the Mayor, Sid Edwards, was there. Was honored during the game right there in the middle of the court. So lots of stuff going on. As far as the game goes, the only thing that Southern did last night, when Southern had the lead at halftime, Johnny Jones and the team decided to do the full court press the second half all the way. And I'm going to tell you this, they really hurt Southern at that point. So that's the blueprint that teams are going to use from now on, that if they can do what Southern did, even though Southern never relinquished the lead, they led by as many as 19 points and then led by as little as 1 point. And then all of a sudden Southern went on an 8-0 run and got that away and led by 9 at that time. So Southern really got it going. But the problem is Southern had 24 turnovers in that game last night. They forced 20 turnovers from Texas Southern, but their offense had 24 turnovers in that game. Absolutely unbelievable. But Southern University, again, number 1 with by 3 games with 5 games left to play. They have a real good shot, so I think the magic number is 2. The magic number is 2. They go to Grambling this week. It's going to be a tough game at Grambling, but the magic number is now 2 for Southern to win the regular season championship. They're 12-1 now on the season, and if they can win the next 2 games, they would at least share a tie for the SWAC championship, and 3 would be winning it all over. And Southern would be the SWAC regular season champs, and then that means they would go into the number 1 seed in the SWAC tournament. Now, in previous years, last year was the first year they didn't do it for the NIT. They would automatically make the regular season champ bid into the NIT, but that's gone now. So they will not get an automatic bid for the NIT if Southern were to win out and not make it to the NCAA tournament by not winning the SWAC tournament. So for Southern to get to the tournament, they got to win the SWAC tournament in Atlanta. This moved to Atlanta this year, and also maybe they could get an NIT at large bid if they play good. I don't know if their RPI and their overall record is going to be good enough to maybe get, I think maybe to the NIT, but not an at-large bid to the NCAA. Jonathan, you watched the game last night. What were your thoughts of Southern against Johnny Jones and Texas Southern?
Yeah, it was exciting to get to watch it on ESPN from my house and not have to be working the mini dome, unlike Chris and Marty, it was a late night, I know, for you guys, but happy to be here. Back on Talking Sports with Chris Powers. Like Coach KJ, obviously, talked about the bench points. It's not true bench points for Southern because the bench plays so much. They sub them in early and often. Southern very deep, very athletic. And still, keep in mind, without Dumasi, and Dumasi was a big part of the team last year, Coach KJ really has them all firing on all cylinders, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Nunley, number 9, obviously was the catalyst again. Mark Jacobs so strong to the hole. And then Johnson from 3. Look, I can't think of my man's name. That the point guard, Aberley, who also shoots it pretty
Ambery,
well.
He struggled last night.
Yeah, he struggled last night, but very deep is Southern. It was a game that was important to get the dub on prime time on ESPNU. So happy for Coach KJ. Coming down the stretch, you really can lean on that defense, though. They keep a lot of guys fresh, able to defend the basket with some shot blockers, but on the perimeter. I mean, we saw the full court press did get pressure on Southern last night, and it's really what Southern's used to doing to other teams is putting that pressure on them from 90 feet from the basket and really using the athletic ability. So I think Coach KJ will get it right. They'll work on press break this week. I know he will because, he obviously self-scouts, and they run a really intense practice. So I have no doubt that he'll get things corrected that they did mess up last night, but able to get the victory. And after you dealt with a comeback like that, you saw it kind of working right in the beginning of that second half, and Texas Southern was able to go to a 9-0 run like right out the gate. So it was good to get the win, especially with all the who's who involved who was at the stadium last night. Cold weather, and it was late, so I think that kind of affected the crowd a little bit, especially being able to see it on ESPNU. But great for Coach KJ.
Yeah, it was a 9-0 run in 49 seconds. I mean, it was crazy the way they fought back like that, and all of a sudden now you're at a two-possession game. But again, so that's a blueprint. Now, I don't know if all teams could do what Johnny Jones' team did last night as far as that. They're not a good shooting team. But as far as everything else goes, they're a good defensive basketball team. And Johnny Jones gets his teams up for tournament time, so it'll be interesting. Now, on the other side, Coach Carlos Funches and the Lady Jags right now also number one in it. Now, they split with Texas Southern this year, and they beat Jackson State in the only regular season game they're going to play. The reason it's their number one seed right now in the tournament is because Texas Southern beat them by 5 points in Houston, while Southern beat them by 10 points in Baton Rouge. So Southern will get the advantage as the number one seed if the tournament would be held today. But they got a lot of basketball left to go. They've got 5 games left to play, including a very tough matchup this week with Grambling. That game will start at 2 p.m., and then they got to go to FAMU. So they got to go to Tallahassee. And then 3 games in March. They're going to be at Bethune-Cookman. That'll be on March the 1st, and then come back for the final 2 home games. So, Marty, we only got 2 more home games, brother. That's it. 2 more home games against Alabama State and Alabama A&M on March 6th and 8th. That's a Thursday and a Saturday night. So that's it for the season. We're done. So, again, 5 games left to play. Both Southern men and women are at number 1 right now. And this team goes by Nia Gordine. She averages 12.5 points per ball game. If she's going well, the team is going well. But don't count out some of the other stars like Sanaya Reed. Sanaya Reed, Jonathan, you ought to see her shot. It's a beautiful shot, perfect rotation. She shoots with perfect form, but it's not always there. It's usually right on track, but sometimes she gets frustrated when she's not making the shots. And all I can tell them is that just you got to keep it going. An NBA player don't make every shot. I mean, you just got to keep it going and don't let it get mentally in your head. That's why people wonder what makes a good athlete. It's not just your skills. It's by what you have as far as up here goes and how you can handle pressure and how you can do this and do that. But it goes by Nia Gordine. She averages 12.5 points per ball game. She leads the team in points, rebounds at 5 a game, rebounds a game, and steals at 2.5 a game. So, and unbelievable. She's just an unbelievable player. But sometimes she gets frustrated, but she takes over a game, and they need her big time. Sanaya Reed, if she can get going, Aaliyah Funtno is, is struggling a little bit because she has really been in that 2 position for a long time, the 2 guard. Now she's at the number 1 guard, backup point guard. She is the second-string point guard on this basketball team. And so now she's playing a different position, and that is changing everything up. Kind of like, what was that lady last year? What was that female athlete on LSU's team last year, Jonathan? You remember her name? She had
Haley Van Lith.
Yes, same thing. She switched positions, and my sister couldn't stand her because she was supposed to be the number 1 transfer, and she didn't do that well at LSU. 1, I think she struggled with Kim Mulkey's game plans, and 2, she had a new position. She was running point, where usually she was at the 2 guard, but they needed her at point guard. She couldn't do it. She couldn't hack it, and that's why she left, and she's out of here. But also Tiona Lynch. They need players that be more consistent down low. So I think Southern's in a good spot. Look, they beat the snot out of Jackson State, who's been beating them forever for a long time. Jackson State's still right there at 11-2. They're a good basketball team, and now they split with Texas Southern. Texas Southern's lost 2 games in a row. So for the Southern Lady Jaguars, they're playing good basketball right now, and they are the number 1 seed in the tournament. Now it's time to talk about the Lady Tigers. Lady Tigers of LSU is 10-2 overall and in third place in the SEC. Jonathan, I think this team needs a couple of players to either step up or they need to draft a player or recruit a player for next year that is a team leader. I think that's what's killing them right now as far as team leader. They're blowing at the end, and they're also getting nervous with teams like South Carolina. They led by 10 points in that third quarter against Texas on the road. They were playing very good basketball. But then all of a sudden the pressure starts coming, and they start throwing the ball out of bounds. The turnovers start mounting up. The fouls start mounting up. The missed shots start mounting up. They're missing shots. They're getting the ball stolen from them. They're having turnovers, and they're committing silly fouls with that. I think this team, LSU, the Lady Tigers, are a top 10 team. I just don't think they're a top 4, top 5 team. I just don't. I think they couldn't beat Notre Dame. Obviously, they couldn't beat Texas. It was at Texas. Maybe shot again, maybe. I mean, the game was closer. UCLA, USC, UConn, who had an unbelievable game against South Carolina, and, of course, the South Carolina Gamecocks. We all know what happens with that, 17 in a row. So, Jonathan, I think that this team is a top 10 team, but I just don't think they're a top 4 team, which means, I don't know, they're going to have to play great basketball down the stretch to get into the Final Four this year.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. And you kind of mentioned on the show previous that you thought that LSU was maybe the third best team in the SEC behind Texas and South Carolina, obviously. But I agree with you. Outside the top 3 scorers in Michaela Williams and Flaugier, it's inconsistent point guard play. Last year, Poa has been in the situation before. Of course, she has a championship ring from when they won it back with Angel Reese. But she's not the scorer that some of these younger girls are. And look, not taking anything against last year Poa, but it's because you don't have that dynamic scorer to also be a team leader that you do see inconsistency distributing the basketball. Anissa Morrow, I mean, a walk-in double-double for an undersized power forward. She's going to battle, and especially against Texas, who have 2 dominant post players. She was fighting, and I thought Coach Kim Mulkey's team lacked offense at times, but certainly they had an opportunity to execute the free throw line and just it didn't get it done. And maybe it's the mental aspect of the game. You see it coming to play against South Carolina. They don't believe that they can actually beat that team. It's been 16 in a row. And look, the mental aspect of the game is obviously prevalent. And Coach Kim Mulkey's a rock star. She knows how to handle her roster. She knows how to get the most of those players. But I don't believe they have enough to take it all. And is that an awful thing to say that LSU's not going to be national champions this year? Look, there's a ton of good talent in college basketball. We all know that. But dealing with the personalities and everything that everybody has going on off the court and not to get all political, but there's a lot going on, and to handle these women's personalities, egos, emotions, it's a whole different ball game than coaching men. And I just think that, to have a leader on the court, to have somebody that's cool, calm, and collected, get her own shot, can work off that dribble, go to the post, feed the big man. It's a tough assignment to ask one person to do, and that's why you have to kind of bounce around with different assignments, different roles on a team. I think Coach Kim Mulkey, like you said, is coaching a pretty good roster. She can coach their way into the Sweet 16. They would have to get really hot, Chris, to make it an Elite 8. I think they will be able to host a couple of matches in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center, but they're going to have to really shoot the ball well, which we haven't really seen this year consistently from LSU, especially beyond the arc.
Yeah, no question about that. I mean, so they've got 4 games left to play, and they're done. They play at home against Georgia on Thursday this week. Then they travel to Kentucky, which is ranked 14th in the nation, on Sunday. Then they will play on next Thursday against Alabama, and Alabama at Tuscaloosa. That's going to be a tough game. They're 18th in the nation. And their final game in March before they go to the SEC tournament will be at home against an unranked Ole Miss team. So I think they still have an opportunity to have the 2 losses going into the SEC tournament. But like you and I have said, I said that on the last show, I think they're the 3rd best team in the SEC, and I think South Carolina and Texas. And speaking of and South Carolina, they need to stop that. They need to go to a place where, let's start having it in Baton Rouge, or let's have it in New Orleans or something. They got to get away from that. South Carolina's dominating too much, just like I hate to say this, I love it in Omaha, Nebraska for baseball, but for women's softball, because Oklahoma's been dominant the last 4 years, they've won it. No, they got to get out of Oklahoma. It's an advantage, and it's not fair. So, you're going to start seeing people get upset by that. Even Oklahoma's built a beautiful double-decker stadium. It's beautiful. But you got to stop getting out of the tournament, which South Carolina, we're in SEC tournament, will be in South Carolina again. And are you kidding me? That's crazy. But anyway, Look, I want LSU to win. I'm a Kim Mulkey fan big time, but I just think again, Angel Reese in her first season, Angel Reese would fuss at them on the floor. She was their coach on the court, and I love that about her. Angel Reese is totally a different person now. She's not a team player. She's just not. She's just that first year and her winning the national championship just absolutely ruined that lady. And I hate to say that, but I don't think she's the same person. You can see that now. But anyway, that's a different story. But again, I think LSU needs an Angel Reese type in their first year to get in there and try to coach those players on the court and tell them to calm down, and just come on, let's get it up and let's go, because right now that's where they're struggling. The LSU men's team got a big win over Oklahoma, but they're still 2-10 on the season in SEC play. 13th place with 5 games left to play. Matt McMahon was told, according to reports, that he's going to get a 4th season for next year. He'll go back, he'll be the coach next year and promise more NIL money. However, reports now that are LSU, Oklahoma, and South Carolina are the 3 lowest NIL money schools in college basketball in the SEC. If they fired him, they would owe him 80% of his salary, which would be around $80 million. SEC this year has turned into a basketball conference. 9 teams in the top 25, 5 teams in the top 10. And, Jonathan, I don't know about you, but all the years I've watched basketball, even with Rupp and even with, all the years in the 80s that LSU made the Final Fours and what have you, the SEC has never looked this good in college basketball.
No, I agree, Chris. And you got 1 versus 2 coming up this Saturday. Going to be a great game, Alabama versus Auburn.
Yeah. And you got Florida now. So Alabama drops to 4. Florida picks up to number 2.
Yep.
I mean, that's how crazy that is. That's how crazy. Again, 9 teams of the top 25 with 5 in the top 10. Half of the top 10 are SEC schools. That's crazy. That's what you get from the ACC or maybe the Big Ten. But the SEC, how long will it last? So my only problem with that, and the reason I say that is that, Jonathan, if I say that LSU and those teams, OU and South Carolina, are the 3 lowest in the SEC as far as NIL money goes,
yeah,
those teams are going to get even more. Auburn's going to get more and what have you, because they're tasting that success, and they're going to get more. There's no question about that. So they'll get more. When I said a couple of years ago when Bruce Pearl was let go of Tennessee, I said, man, I'd love to get him at LSU. And everybody looked at me like I was stupid.
Yeah.
Now look what Bruce Pearl's doing. Every year Bruce Pearl has a good season. Now the question is, can he win the big game? Can he win a national championship? I don't know. But right now the SEC looks unbelievably good. LSU men's team, nobody even cares about them hardly. I mean, they still put in decent amount of fans in the stadium, in the PMAC. But other than that, it's just an absolute joke with that team. 2-10 on the year. McMahon's got 1 more year to do it. And you and I have talked about that. We said that last show, that he ought to be given at least 1 more year. He is going to get 1 more year, it looks like, and promise more NIL money. So we'll see. But, I mean, could you see any big splash hires after McMahon here at LSU like Scott Woodward's normally used to doing?
I think McMahon, and it's a tricky situation because I do think he knows ball. I think he's a good coach. I think he can develop players. And I'm happy to hear the administration publicly endorse him, give him 1 more year, and tell him that we're going to get you some more help. And
right.
Look, there's just so much money to go around, Chris. If you were watching LSU baseball this weekend, you saw at least 4 true freshmen that could be playing minor league baseball right now. There's a reason they came to LSU. Of course, we understand that the environment of college baseball and college sports in general. So, yeah, you have to pick and choose where the money goes. I'm happy the administration wants to support him, try to get him some more Jimmys and Joes in the door to kind of compete with these SEC schools because, I mean, it's such a great tradition with LSU basketball. Statues outside, legends have been through the building, and it's a shame to be at the very bottom. 2 wins. You're happy for Coach McMahon to have something positive to talk about because, trust me, it's not easy to keep these kids involved, buying in, coming to practice, and working their tails off when the results just haven't been what you wanted. And there's been so many games that come down to the last couple possessions. Really, the SEC is such a gauntlet. Just tonight, South Carolina, I think Coach McMahon said they've been in 6 different one-possession games coming down to the end where they lost. So records really don't matter. You know it's going to be a very tough environment or a tough game to play each and every time out in the SEC. So I am happy for Coach McMahon to get that that 1 more public endorsement. So he's not like coaching looking over his shoulder for this little last stretch of the year. But definitely have to get him some help, and that takes the boosters, the administration, the whole deal. And hopefully they get it on the right track next season.
It is crazy. a guy told me one time, he said, how crazy is it that LSU basketball has more statues than any sport, where baseball and football are known to be even more successful than that? LSU has one. LSU doesn't recognize them as the national champs, but the NCAA does. 1935, LSU was number one as the season ended, but they didn't have the tournament back then. But they were recognized 1935 as a national champion, basically. But LSU doesn't recognize that. Now, women's basketball, of course, won a couple of years ago. But now they have more statues than any other sport. More than baseball, one with Skip Bertman. More than football, one with Billy Cannon. Isn't that crazy, Jonathan? Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, especially with all the money that the other sports do bring in. And, yeah, LSU, like I said, has historically been a powerhouse, a force to be reckoned with in college basketball. I mean, just look at how the game has been impacted by Shaquille O'Neal, Pete Maravich, you name it. They rewrote Bob Pettit. I mean, they literally rewrote the book how the game is played.
Yeah.
The impact they had on the game.
And Chris Jackson. Boy, I loved watching Chris Jackson play.
Yep.
And I'm still calling him Chris. I don't care whether Abdul or who or whatever. Right. I still call him Chris Jackson because Chris Jackson was one of the smoothest shots I've ever seen in my life, the quickest release I've ever seen. He was so awesome to watch. It was unbelievable. LSU baseball has begun. In fact, they're about to be playing here in just a couple of minutes as we're taping this show. We'll talk about them when we come back, and Southern baseball as well. In fact, that's who they're taking on, Southern, right here at 2 o'clock here in just a few moments. So we'll talk about that when we come back right after this timeout. It's Talking Sports with me, Chris Powers, right here on Pelican Sports TV.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouget. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouget today.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadia and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars.
All right, welcome back, everybody, as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers. LSU baseball has begun. The dings of those bats. And let's see, it's 2:11 as we're taping this show right now. They've just started with the Southern Jaguars. Last year, Southern beat them, and that woke LSU up after that loss. It woke LSU up, and LSU started making a run, but it was too little too late. But they're playing Southern University today. They come into the game at 3-0, number 2 in most of the polls in the nation. Tiger pitching looks good. Good start. They had 45 strikeouts this past weekend, most since 1992, according to the Advocate, and had just 2 walks the entire week, the entire weekend. 2/3 of their pitches were strikes, and that's huge. when you can get your pitches, it doesn't matter if they're called strikes, it could be hits, or they could be foul balls or what have you, but if they're right down the strike zone, that's pretty big, and 2/3 of their pitches were all strikes this week. That's unbelievable. Kate Anderson, Anthony Ayerson, and also Chase Shores pitched 5 innings each as Coach Jay Johnson is trying to find out who his starters are going to be, who his Friday, Saturday, and Sunday starters are going to be when the season starts, and what rotation they're going to have and what have you. Anderson had 8 strikeouts this weekend. He had no runs scored against him. Eason and Shores had 1.80 ERA, but Shores had only 3 hits off of him. So the pitching staff looked good. All indication, all the bullpen also looked good coming out. They seem to be deep, and that's the whole key to getting to Omaha is your pitching staff, your starters, and your bench. And your relief pitchers. Those are the 2 things. If you can get a good pitching staff, that can carry you to Omaha, Nebraska. If you have an okay, little bit better than okay offense. But pitching is very key getting to Omaha, and it looks like LSU was stacked, obviously hoping that there'll be no injuries like it was last year. As far as batting goes, Ashton Larson was the designated hitter. He's going to probably be back at a position player at some point, but he was a DH this week. He had 667 this weekend with 6 at-bats, and he had a double and a home run along with 2 singles, so he did very well. This team is loaded on offense and defense in the field. LSU batted .340 this week against Purdue Fort Wayne. Too aggressive on base paths, though. Against them, they were thrown out 6 times. I can't stand that. The only way, Jonathan, I like that is if they're trying to create to where they're going to be aggressive on the base paths, what it looks like they will, be aggressive on the base paths. However, you better either get it down in the middle waves of the season when you get to SEC play, and if you're not being successful, you better cut it out because that can be some boneheaded ways you can lose games if you're picked off at first base or picked off in a rundown between second and third or what have you. They were caught stealing in a couple of them. I don't like that. Thrown out 6 times on the base pass, that's really too early for me to do that. So I don't like that a little bit. But early on, this team is loaded. There'll be a lot of transfers after this year because there's going to be a lot of star players that wants to play but won't get an opportunity to. So Jay Johnson's going to have to do it well to be able to put a perfect rotation in, not only pitching but also in the field. Pitching is not a problem, but in the field could be a problem when you've got these star players that are used to being stars, the transfers from big schools, and also the big stars that gave up Major League Baseball to come to LSU. So, Jonathan, early on, LSU really looks good right now, 3-0 on the season, and their pitching looks to be strong.
Yeah, Chris, it's an embarrassment of riches on the pitching staff. You talk about 9 relievers got action this weekend, gave up a total of 0 runs. Start with the starters. Kate Anderson's going to be a top 5 pitchers in the league. And truly, you don't know if he's going to be the Friday night guy for LSU. That's how good this pitching staff really is. Talk about Anthony Ayerson. This guy was obviously a coveted transfer, and Coach Jay Johnson just started calling him the GM. He really gets it done. Works the transfer portal better than anybody we've seen at LSU, and signs these young guys. William Schmidt should be playing minor league baseball somewhere right now. There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. Kid out of Catholic High, throws 95 already as a true freshman. Yeah. He's just one power arm that Jay brought in as a true freshman. And, pitching is not going to be the problem. They're going to find their weekend start rotation very early. Then they'll start looking at who's going to start these midweek games because they have so many arms in that bullpen. It's going to be hard to solidify. A guy like Gavin Guidry, who's been with the team for a long time, where's that number 8 as the leader on the team? Where does he even fit into this rotation? Is he going to be the setup guy? Is he going to be a closer? There's at least 5 guys on the team that throw in the mid-90s easily. They can load manage. They just got to focus on getting 3 to 6 guys out, so it's easy for them. And offensively, this team could hit for average. They can hit for power. You saw the new center fielder, Stanfield, start off with a triple on Friday and then make an incredible diving catch coming straight to home plate. This young kid, Derek Curiel, they had him in right field, hit a home run. Great hands. He can run, 5-tool guy. You move Milam from second base to shortstop. You move Braswell to third base. You got this guy, Daniel Dickinson, who hit the first home run for LSU this year and absolutely on fire at the plate. Guys like Jake Brown and Ashton Larson that were forced into playing time early last year as true freshmen, they filled out as sophomores. They're going to hit the ball hard and often. And, Coach Jay Johnson, this might be the best 40-man roster he's had in his career, certainly since the one that won the national championship here at LSU. And it's going to be exciting. They're going to be in a lot of games defensively from that pitching staff, starters and out the bullpen. It's just, like I said, it's an embarrassment of riches, Chris.
Yeah, it's going to be unbelievable. I think that this team has a very good chance to make a deep run this year. they had Texas A&M as a preseason number 1. I don't understand that. They've got a new coaching, and a lot of players did leave after their coach left and went to Texas. But other than that, hey, again, preseason don't mean anything. We'll find out as the season gets going, as the SEC gets going. Ought to be a fun one. We'll dive more into the SEC, but right now they're just getting underway. This is only their 4th game today. They got a game this weekend again, I believe, against I think Nicholls State or one of the local
Nicholls
teams. They'll play, but other than that, hey, they're going to be right there. They're playing against Southern today. Southern went 2-1 this past weekend over in Houston, played at the old Minute Maid Park. And, Jonathan, people are going nuts at Minute Maid. It's not Minute Maid anymore. Houston people are going crazy. It's a new stadium now, new sponsorship, and they're mad that it's not Minute Maid Park. So many history, so many big things have happened in Minute Maid Park with the Houston Astros. It's been unbelievable. But it's not Minute Maid anymore, but that's where they played this weekend. Southern won 2 out of 3 this weekend. Coach Chris Crenshaw likes his team. They beat LSU last year, as we mentioned, at Alex Box Stadium. Jaguars beat Texas Southern in Game 1 this year, this past weekend, won 8-3. Lost Game 2, 20-10 to the Grambling State Tigers. They were not happy about that at all, but then they come back and win Game 3, 12-2 over Prairie View A&M. Third baseman Taj Bates and also shortstop Benny Biker hit .571 this weekend. Designated hitter Jalen Mack, he's back this year. He hit .429. As a team, they hit .382 this weekend, had 26 hits, and had 14 RBIs. Someone has to step up on the mound, though. Will that be Renard Grace, who returns back this year? Will he be strong enough to be the go-to pitcher on this team? It'll remain to be seen because their ERA, Jonathan, this weekend was 12.12. And mainly it's because of that 20 run for Grambling State, the 20 runs that Grambling State scored. But their ERA was 12.12, and that's not going to get it done. You got to have better pitching to be able to be competitive and games against LSU. You got to have better pitching than this. Renard Grace, as we mentioned, he's back. He pitched 5 innings in that game, had 3 runs against him, 3 hits on him, including a home run. But I think Renard Grace is going to try to be the leader going in as the starting pitcher. We don't know if he'll be that Friday pitcher. More than likely will be a Friday pitcher, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes on. But Southern and LSU playing right now at Alex Box Stadium. A little chilly weather out there today, but they can do it. I know an aluminum bat. I don't know if have you ever hit with an aluminum bat cold? I hit with a wooden bat when it was cold, and it rattled the hell out of my hands.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, my God.
I was playing a game, I think I was in 8th grade ball playing in a little tournament right there in Luling, Louisiana. And, yeah, it was like 52 degrees, 53 degrees, which really feels cold right by the water.
Yeah.
And brand new TPX Gen 1X, and unfortunately just caught it on the right spot. It was the right temperature. That bat split up the middle like a lightning bolt and opened up. So you got to be careful in the cold. Those bats come with disclaimers, too, because they'll void the warranty if you don't use it in the right temperature. So I don't think it's quite that cold, Chris.
And you're right, because I did a Southern game at UNO, and it was, before obviously all the season started, and it is cold off that lake.
Yep.
It was absolutely – it might have been one of the coldest I've ever been, because I brought a little light jacket, but it was colder than that, and I did that game. Oh, my goodness, was it cold over there at UNO. Unbelievable. All right, speaking of New Orleans, when we come back, the Saints have their new man. I'll talk about that. Jonathan and I will sit back and talk about Kellen Moore coming over as the Saints' new head coach. We'll do that when we come back as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers, Jonathan Marty in the house right here on Pelican Sports TV.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs, because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouget. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouget today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Talking sports with me, Chris Powers, here on Pelican Sports TV. The Saints have their new man. They were the last to get a new NFL coach this season, and I think they're second to last when it comes to as far as quality goes. Some NFL people are disagreeing with me. I don't know. I might be wrong, and I hope I am. Look, I got my Saints I got to do opposite. There you go. I got my Saints, shirt on today. I hope that they do. Sean, so Kellen Moore, people are telling me we didn't know enough about Sean Payton. Well, yeah, you're right. We didn't know enough about Sean Payton. We knew he was an offensive coordinator. We knew he was an offensive guru guy. He several times under, Bill Parcells and under John Gruden, also an assistant with John Gruden, not at Tampa or anywhere John Gruden's gone, but he was when the New York Giants, John Gruden was ahead of him in Philadelphia as well. But Sean Payton was also a disciplinary guy. He got that from Bill Parcells. So he is tough, and we all know that. Is Kellen Moore somebody you fear, really? I don't. He don't look like he'd be a guy that I would fear. Oh, my God, we can't tick off the head coach, Kellen Moore. I just don't think he's like that. His offenses have been good since he became an assistant, but he didn't have one single vote for Assistant Coach of the Year this year. Not one. And his team did go on and win the Super Bowl, no question about that, after 1 year of being offensive coordinator. So he was quarterbacks coach at Dallas in 2018. Then he became offensive coordinator in 19 and 22. Now, when Garrett was fired, then McCarthy comes in and decides to keep him as offensive coordinator, but McCarthy likes to call a lot of the plays too. So they had an agreement to part ways. They had a mutual agreement to part ways. So he then went to the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers in 2023, and then went to Philadelphia in 2024, of course, where they won the Super Bowl this year. Now, in 2 of his 3 seasons at Dallas, he had the number 2 passing deal with Dak Prescott. In Philadelphia this year, they had the number 2 rushing, of course. We all know what happened with that. So right now, so far, he's hired 4 assistant coaches. 4. I think the Saints have to face the fact that either they're going to rebuild or they're going to reload and try to continue to do what they're doing, kicking the can down the road. At some point, you've got to do it because now you've got cap space we're talking about. And in cap space, it's not looking good at all. For Derek Carr, for cap space this year, he's going to be $51 million to the cap space. $51 million. Now, he said he would renegotiate his contract, but people are saying that they don't think Derek Carr is going to be around. The question is, where's Derek Carr's next house going to be? With the Saints, he is the most at $51 million. Cameron Jordan at just over $20 million to the salary cap. Question is now what happens if they let him go? If they force him to either retire, they trade him, or they cut him. All right, and this is all before June 1st. How much it counts to the cap before June 1st? Taysom Hill already reports that Denver Bronco fans are salivating to get Taysom Hill to come over to Denver with Sean Payton if he gets cut. There's word is he may get cut. Almost $18 million that he is going to be a cap space hit. Eric McCoy, maybe he's going to renegotiate his contract. He's a young offensive lineman, young guard. They're going to keep him. He's just over almost $15.5 million to the salary cap. Demario Davis. Jonathan, you and I have talked about Demario Davis. Out of 13-year career, I think it's 13 years he's played, you know how many times he hasn't had 100 tackles? 3. That's it. Even this year he had 136, but guess what? That's the most he's gotten in his career. Previously, it was 135 he did about 6-7 years ago. I had 136 tackles this year. That guy's still at 35 years old, still doing it. He's a great guy in the locker room. He fires the team up like Drew Brees did before a game. You got to keep Demario Davis. That's the only reason why you didn't keep Bond. Look at Bond goes to Philadelphia, and this guy's an unbelievable middle linebacker because he would play where he's playing, where Demario Davis is playing. And Bond went on to be an All-Pro at Philadelphia and win a Super Bowl. But you got to keep Demario Davis, or do you trade him? Jonathan, what if you were general manager, do you trade Demario Davis?
Oh no, I'm keeping Demario. But Cam Jordan, thank you for what you've done. We'll see in the funny papers. Pete Warner, same deal. Any secondary member not named Tyrann Mathieu, because I'm not sure what you can get for the Honey Badger at this point. You want to juice out every last bit of football he has, not only as the mental side, but can still ball hawk a little bit in the back. But yeah, there is some pieces you can move. Unfortunately, I think they missed the window on trading Alvin Kamara, just for the market's sake, as running backs, how much they could offer on the free market. Still got to squeeze the last bit of football Alvin Kamara has too. And look, Kellen Moore, we're the same age, 36. Guy was very good in college at Boise State, set the record for FBS wins. Then he goes straight into coaching, has had success, as you mentioned, as an OC. So we kind of figure he's going to call his own plays while also being a first-time head coach, while also dealing with one of the second or third oldest roster in the league with the worst cap situation. So hopefully Kellen Moore is young enough to not know what he doesn't know and really is fired up and focused and energized and ready to bring new life to this franchise. That's exactly what it needs. Yeah. You mentioned are they kicking the can down the road? Well, obviously they haven't fired Mickey Loomis yet, so ideals haven't really changed that much in New Orleans. So you have to get behind this new head coach with a new vision of what this organization look like. And I think Kellen Moore is excited to have a Derek Carr because Derek Carr has had multiple offensive coordinators over his career. He's worked with a lot of different guys, a lot of different systems. So he's already going to know a lot of the lingo and a lot of the terminology that Kellen Moore is going to want to implement quick, fast, and in a hurry, but has got to solidify that offensive line. That was the main catalyst, I believe, for the Saints' troubles.
Since Carr's been here.
And not only that, they weren't very good as starters. Then they got hurt. They had every single lineman at least miss some part of the season last year. So got to have more consistency up front. You saw what the Philadelphia Eagles was able to do to Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes just rushing forward, not even having a blitz, just dominating the line of scrimmage. Saints have to take some note of that and improve in the trenches.
There's no question about that. And they've got to improve in the offensive line. There's no question about that. As we mentioned, Demario Davis at $12 million. Ryan Ramczyk, who's probably going to retire, he counts as $12.25 to the salary cap. If he retires, it counts for $7.8 million. And word is he's going to retire. Cesar Ruiz, he's the center, $12.2. Renegotiating a contract there is probably what's going to happen. Same thing with Carl Granderson. He did decent in the defensive end. But Hendrickson for the Cincinnati Bengals is going to be a free agent this year. We lost him to Cincinnati. Remember he was here in New Orleans? Oh, my goodness. But Granderson's done a good job. I'll give him that. Tyrann Mathieu counts for 11.3. He'll renegotiate his contract. Alvin Kamara, 10.1. I've said this for a long time that I think Alvin Kamara is a great weapon, and he's a nightmare for defenses to match up with. But as far as a pure running back, no. They need to figure out a way for him. He's not a pure running back. He hadn't had 1,000 yards, I don't think ever. And he had finally got over 100 yards rushing in a game. He did it a couple of times this year. And he was looking good until he pulled that hamstring at the end with that crazy pass he did for the touchdown. But other than that, I think Alvin will stay. Chase Young signed a one-year deal with a one-year option. If he stayed, he would count for $9 million, but he's going to renegotiate if he stays in New Orleans. That guy looks unbelievable. He looks like a beast, but he just doesn't play like that. He's been a bust ever since he's been with the Commanders and then with San Francisco and now New Orleans. It looks like he could be a great NFL player. I mean, he's so big, and I want him to succeed. And he had fun here in New Orleans this year, but he's going to sign – I don't know if it's going to be a massive contract because, again, he hadn't done anything. Nathan Shepard, Juwan Johnson, Chris Olave, Pete Warner only counts for 5.3. They re-signed his contract last year. This guy, he's got a nose for the football. I love him to death, but he gets hurt every year. Every single year, Pete Warner is hurt and he's missing more games than he plays almost. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, I love the guy, everything like that, but at the same time, but the Saints, as you mentioned, have the worst cap space in the National Football League. And if you think it's bad this year, next year it says over $200 million. $200 million. There's no way you can renegotiate $200 million in contract space. No way. I mean, I don't know how the hell they're going to do that. That's going to be something they're really going to have to work on, because it could go even higher with what they do this one. Because when they do kicking the can down the road, I explained it to a fan this week, that's like paying credit cards. If you pay minimum on a credit card, let's say you owe $10,000 on a credit card, and you pay minimum. Well, that gets you graces, and it gets your credit score great, and everything's great. But the problem is you still owe money on that, okay? So you pay the minimum, and whatever that minimum is, and you still owe money on that, so they charge you interest the next month on that money that you still owe, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse down the road. And that's what's kicking the can down the road. It's like paying a credit card and saying paying it all off, or just saying, Saints at one point is going to have to just say, we're just going to have to end it. We're going to have to cut a lot of our big players, get some trade value out of them. We're going to cut a lot of our big players. We're going to suffer with dead money for a couple of years. And then after that, and then we can start rebuilding after that. Because right now, the Saints they're going to be continuing. It's going to be worse and worse and worse and worse as time goes on. Period. It was good when Drew Brees was here, Sean Payton was here. You could win another Super Bowl. But right now, that's got to go. That and understanding that's what's going to happen, Saints fans. It's coming. One day, sooner or later, it's coming. We're going to have to face the piper. We're going to have to face the music, and that's the way it is. All right, we'll come back. We've got more things to talk about, including LSU softball and my experience Super Bowl weekend. We'll talk about that coming up as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers, Jonathan, and Marty in the house. We'll do that as we continue right here on Pelican Sports TV.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouget. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouget today.
If you're a wing lover like me, you already know where the best and biggest wings in Baton Rouge are. TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10. But did you know they also provide some of the best catering in town? Yeah. Their catering packages are custom built for parties and tailgates and overflowing with the tastiest barbecue you can find. Whether you go with the MVP package, the Heisman, or the Natty, you can't go wrong with TJ Ribs, because it's not just jumbo wings. They serve up truly tender beef brisket, perfectly roasted pulled pork, and smoky fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs. Don't forget the savory sausage and chopped beef. Come on down to TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10, proud sponsors of the LSU Tigers and the Southern University Jaguars.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody, as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers, and the LSU softball. So I went Friday to New Orleans. We'll talk about that first, the Super Bowl experience I had. So last Friday I went to New Orleans, and I got a pass from my brother, who has got a good friend who's a lawyer, and he's one of the main lawyers for the NFL, and he lives here in Baton Rouge. And it's pretty cool. We went to the NFL house, which is in Arno's restaurant, and several layers. I've never been to Arno's. It's several layers. You walk up several stairs, and you go down this stairs, and you go by another stairs on this side, and what have you. Marty, they had over 300 menu items there. Unbelievable. Open bars everywhere you look. They had all kinds of things. I met Joe Montana, Sam Darnold. I met, and Jonathan, you know better than I do, maybe the running back for the Indianapolis Colts.
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor. Met Jonathan Taylor and his wife, and she loved my voice. She wanted to take a picture with me. Her husband or boyfriend, whoever it was, I didn't ask, is a star running back for the National Football League. And you want my picture? Because she loved my voice and what have you. So we talked with them. I also talked with the tight end that's on Fox Network, the second color analyst. Moved back. Tom Brady took his place. He was
Greg
drafted.
Olson.
Greg Olson. Talked to Greg Olson, told him he got screwed and all that. So I had a good time there. And so we did that on Friday in New Orleans, got to rub elbows with all of them. They had the freaking unbelievable food. They had grilled redfish sandwiches, little biscuits like that, and with redfish in the middle of it. All kinds of things to try. I was so proud of New Orleans. New Orleans could not have done a better job if they tried. The only thing I have a problem with what New Orleans did, because that's New Orleans, not the NFL, but New Orleans. The only thing I had a problem with the NFL, with New Orleans did rather, hotel rooms were 8 times the amount of what they normally cost, and people were complaining about that. Even more, some rooms were more than what it was in Vegas last year. That's crazy, because I remember one time, one of the Super Bowls, that the city of New Orleans had to get on the motel industry and say, you got to cut that out, or we're not going to get another Super Bowl, because it was just too much money. Some people saying and the price of the Super Bowl tickets were going down. The Holiday Inn, right there, you know where the Clarinet is, right off Poydras Street? The Clarinet's painted on the side, the mural on the side. $1,500 a night for a Holiday Inn. Are you kidding me? So stuff like that was kind of crazy. I think everything else, so all the parties were great. I saw Jonathan, I don't know if you saw the Gail Benson party. That was at City Park. You talk about unbelievable. The Shaq party was unbelievable. Guy Fieri, whatever you call his name, had the largest tailgating, broke a record for tailgating, over 20,000 people, more than what Vegas did. I asked Kansas City fans, I was there on Friday and I went on Saturday for the parade, and we walked 8 miles on Saturday. And I asked Kansas City fans, was it better in New Orleans or Vegas? Every one of them said New Orleans. New Orleans knocked it out. They were like kids in a candy store with that parade on Saturday, the Mardi Gras Super Bowl parade. Unbelievable. I sat back. I let them all enjoy it. My brother, my sister, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, I let them all enjoy it because we've seen 10 million parades in New Orleans and what have you. They had good throws. The people were excited. That was great. I thought the traffic was crazy in the CBD, but New Orleans officials said that. Don't be driving a lot because, you're going to back up traffic. Traffic was crazy in the CBD. It was tough getting Uber drivers and what have you. I thought the LSU experience was not as good as I thought it would be. Jonathan, get this. It was off of Gravier Street. Guess what? No tent. It was hot. You know how hot it was Saturday. On that cement, they had chairs you could sit. You talk about sweating like buckshots. No water. No soft drinks, only Lucky Dogs. Oh, my goodness. I was saying, give me a glass, I'll get Lucky Dog water.
Yeah, right.
Come on. I mean, it was but they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire there, and Clyde was talking about, my brother asked him, hey, you ought to go back to play with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. He said, I'd love to. Little did we know, a couple of days after that, he signed another year contract with the Saints. So other than that, I thought the Super Bowl experience was good. Now, this is where the NFL problems did, and you saw that, Jonathan. For Saturday, when we got to go, it was $40 a person to get into the NFL experience.
Yep.
That means you had to pay $40. I just wanted to go to the shop. I didn't want to go to the NFL experience and run the 40-yard dash. I ain't running no damn 40-yard dash. If you see me running, you better run with me because there's an alligator, a bear, or something chasing my ass. All right? You better run with me. Don't just say, oh, look at Chris running. That's great. You better run with me because something chasing my ass. Okay? But, and look, and Jonathan, I don't know when you were out there. I know you went Thursday.
Yep.
But on Saturday, it looked like freaking Disney World going in there. They had people everywhere.
Yep.
Unbelievable. And so many people were saying, some businesses are coming back and saying it wasn't as good as we thought because the national media kept going on with the terrorist attack thing. And also, Magazine Street was upset because nobody went to Magazine Street. Well, Magazine Street, I hate to say that, but you guys have always promoted yourself as we are for the locals, where all the tourists go to Bourbon Street.
Right.
The locals come to Magazine Street. That's what you get. You should have advertised it more that you had all those shops on Magazine Street. We all know Magazine Street's nice. except for the road. The road's horrible. I got to put my truck in four-wheel drive to go down freaking Magazine Street.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. You can't get from downtown to Magazine without taking 30 minutes traffic, especially with the infrastructure that New Orleans has with a 200,000 extra tourists just roaming the streets. I will say, I thought the city of New Orleans did a fantastic. That is the cleanest the French Quarter has ever been since I've been alive.
Yeah.
Every morning
with a lemon flavor smell.
Yeah, no, there was no mystery puddles on the corners. There was no. You could. I'm not recommending you wear sandals on Bourbon Street, but it wasn't like you're walking through a river of human waste just to get to the next bar. I will say that's the cleanest I've ever seen the French Quarter. So look, when I was walking down, Chris, I don't know how you felt, but when I went on Thursday, I have never felt safer walking around the city of New Orleans. They had 4 or 5 cops in every single corner, bomb-sniffing dogs for every street, every turnoff, every parking lot. I've never felt safer, so I did appreciate that immensely. Local and state police, everybody who was out there, I truly thank you.
Yeah, no question. 2,700 officers were out there. As far as the Super Bowl goes, I thought the Fox show from Bourbon Street was absolutely unbelievable. I had goosebumps on top of goosebumps. I also think the coverage from the Superdome was unbelievable. I thought the Harry Connick Jr. show with the Southern University Marching Band was unbelievable. 128 million people watched that. I thought it was great. It showed Louisiana great. I thought Lauren Daigle did well, along with Trombone Shorty. I thought, obviously, Batiste did unbelievable in the national anthem. I thought everything was great except the boring halftime show. And that's something that someone brought in. Another African-American told me the reason he didn't like the halftime show was because so only rap people can like it. If you didn't like rap, you're not going to like that show. Most shows are universal to where everybody can say, oh, yeah, I know that Snoop Dogg song. I like that. And you can do that and this. I know that song by Prince. I know this.
Yeah, and here's something, Chris. Now, I won't really get into the halftime show too much, but I will say, it cost $8 million to make a 30-second commercial for the Super Bowl this season. The NFL took out 2 different commercials where Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady screamed at each other about how much they hated each other for different ridiculous reasons. And this commercial was supposed to be about unity, bringing people together. But then you give the biggest stage on the planet to a guy whose biggest claim to fame this year has been a diss track for Drake. Like another guy, you're going to start diss, and everybody. That's the only song that a lot of people even knew Kendrick Lamar made, especially those that are just tuning in for football. And so he plays it at the end. Of course, the whole halftime performance comes for this diss track. When I thought we were spending all this money talking about unity. The NFL, look, just be done with the halftime show at this point. It's ridiculous. Yeah. All you take is the negativity after. No matter who it is, what it is, nobody's going to like it anymore. Just take it away.
Right. So it looks like New Orleans will get it again for 2031 possibly. Because of the fact is that next year San Francisco, then Los Angeles, then Atlanta, and in 2028 or 2029 it will be open 2030 as well. But guess what? It coincides with Mardi Gras. And the problem with that is that if Goodell gets what he wants with 18 schedules, that could be even more of a conflict for Mardi Gras later on. We got to watch that very closely on that. So 2031 will be 6 years that New Orleans could apply for another Super Bowl, it looks like, because of 2029 and 30 would be conflict with Mardi Gras. All right, LSU softball started out good. I went to that game right after the Friday I was in New Orleans. That was good. Saw Havender, a pitcher, number 1 pitcher in the country, pitch a no-hitter and a perfect game on her first game. Have a good one. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Rocks and fires. Tommy White with it. Johnson heads to the block.